Thank you, Marie and Sunnyvale Community Services for hosting us. It is a pleasure and we appreciate it. Um, so my question, I'm going to revisit something I asked in my newsletter. So if you read my newsletter, you might know this, but where is this picture taken? Let's see. And my art people can't answer. So Agnes, you're off. Kristin, you're off. Does anybody know where this is taken? You can raise your hand on Zoom too. It is in Sunnyvale. Where is this picture taken? Hello, Julia. Welcome, Colleen. Welcome, Marianne. Nobody knows? Well, it's me is the, is the one person, and then it is against a background. Does anybody know where that background is? It is in Sunnyvale. It's not City Hall, the Cherry Farm. It's close to the barn. You're very warm. It's outside the senior center. There's a bunch of murals. So this was, I believe, Agnes, you took this picture a couple years ago. So that was the question. So I stumped you all. Okay. Um, so what? Oh,
Oh, hi, everybody. This is Kristin Dance, the public art person from the city of Sunnyvale. And I just wanted to clarify that, yes, the murals were at the community center, but the community center is currently under construction. So the murals have been removed. They're not actually in their home. And we don't anticipate that they will be coming back because they were plywood that was out for 3 years in the weather. So they didn't survive 100%. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I can't let if it's wrong information, I had to say something.
2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, they just came down. So I guess maybe I didn't stump you guys. It's no longer in Sunnyvale. Okay. So, in terms of welcoming, I want to welcome you all here. The past several weeks have been a little bit unnerving. I will say, I'm speaking for myself personally. And I stumbled upon a theologian, an author that I really enjoy. And she had several things to do to help you in trying times. And her name is Diana Butler Bass. And she says the first thing is welcome the day, which I did. She says to walk. She says, oh, wake up every day. So that means get out of bed. Welcome the day, walk, hang out with others, work, write, watch the news as much as you can or as little as you can. Wide sight means to kind of broaden your perspective. Um, then she says, weep if you have to. New mic because the battery just died. So maybe you heard me say weep, but then the other thing she talks about is wonder. She says, go out in nature, spend time in an art museum, listen to your favorite music, read books, poetry. So tonight we are celebrating everything arts. And our first speaker tonight, oh, do I have any announcements? Yes, I do. So that was my introduction. So we are all celebrating arts because we are trying to do things to help self-care in kind of hard times. My announcements. First one, council study session and the budget workshop is on Thursday, February 13th at 8:30 in the morning, and 8:30 is the time for public comments. So if you want to speak to something there. On February 15th, St. Thomas is having a concert for UNICEF, and it's in memory of all the innocents lost in the conflict zones, and that's at 6 p.m. On February 15th. And then Silicon Valley at Home is having a Happy Housers Celebrate Black History Month, and that's on February 25th at 5:30 p.m. And I, oh, so in our room, and I might need help with my camera person, we have some electeds here. We have Richard Mellinger. Thank you. All righty. And we also have our mayor, Larry Klein, also here tonight. So thank you. Oh, and then I need to do the commissions. So commissions, we have Agnes Veith, who is on the Arts Commission, and she is the chair. We have Mike Cerrone, who is on the Planning Commission. And Margaret, are you on a commission? No. And that's Crystal, are you still on sustainability? Not anymore. Okay.
Not anymore. I termed out.
Okay, termed out. And I think that may be it for that. Is Bruce on a commission? So Crystal Wickham and Bruce Patton are both on the County Commission for Sustainability. Thank you. And now I believe we can go to, are there any other announcements in the room?
All right. Hello, this is Chuck. So just a quick update. There's actually been some developments with the village centers that are going on, or potential developments. Right now, kind of for the village centers and other kind of larger developments in Sunnyvale, the developers have to have a certain number of units that are affordable. Right now, it's 15% of the units for these developments need to be affordable. What that means is if they're building rental units, the developers have to rent those out at below market rates at different affordability levels, or if they're building townhouses or for sale units, they have to actually sell those units at below market rates at different affordability levels. And the city right now is working on a potential proposal to actually reduce that requirement for the village centers as a way to incentivize retail development. So at the village centers, there would be an option to say, oh, hey, if you want to build more retail at these centers, perhaps the city would reduce the inclusionary rate, the number of affordable units that have to be developed there. This is a proposal that's just getting started. It'll be coming before the Planning Commission and City Council at the end of the month, around February 24th and 25th. So we'll send out some more emails about that. Thanks. And any other announcements?
I have some cards here, which are cards about Know Your Rights, which Sunnyvale Community Services and other nonprofits are giving out. We have them in English, Spanish, as well as English Farsi and English Chinese, Mandarin. We are working on our training and our response so that we are prepared in case anything does happen here. We are a central place where people may gather. Today we had about 1,500 families coming for food, and we're trying to be prepared. We want to work with the city, the county, and the state to be prepared in the case of any kind of ice raid, as well as any other things that threaten our community. And we have more than we have 5,000 of these cards, and we'll go get more if we need them.
Thank you. Any other announcements in the room? Okay. The
county and also other organizations. There's what's called a rapid response call system. And so these were printed and developed by that rapid response team.
Margaret, did you have an announcement or no? Okay. Okay. So Mike Cerrone is going to talk a little bit now about the Art Foundation.
So a number of us are working to create a Sunnyvale Arts Foundation to promote the arts in Sunnyvale and advocate for things like maybe a place to display art in Sunnyvale and things like that. So it's in early stages. If you're interested in participating in that, contact Agnes. Yeah, Agnes Veith. Or really, or myself. And we have met with city staff, and so there's a kind of a small group of us right now, but we hope that will grow as we finalize what we're doing.
Hi, this is Agnes, and because this is all things art tonight, I'm going to be talking about an organization called SV Creates, and they get together with arts commissioners with various cities, all the way down to the South Bay to Morgan Hill, and then east to Milpitas and Fremont, I believe. And what they do is they bring people together to talk about how their cities have tried to start art centers and art culture within their city. And Sunnyvale hosted this event yesterday, and everyone was impressed with our city hall. So what they also do in terms of getting people together is they have emerging artist awards, they have workshops for artists, and they also manage the poet laureate process on behalf of the county, on behalf of Santa Clara County. So those are just a few things they do. Kristin, did you want to say anything about that? Oh, well, thank you.
Okay, so moving right along. So tonight we have Kristin Dance here, and we had her 2 years ago, and it was one of our most popular events. So she's here tonight to share some of the newly installed art since her last presentation, and to share some of the upcoming installations in public parks and the results of our community survey. She is very passionate about art. I have seen that and I've felt that energy in the room. So I am just going to let her take over. So thank you for being here.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I am the public art manager here at the City of Sunnyvale, and I've been in my position, I don't want to say exactly how long, but it's 20 plus years. And this program has changed a lot, so I always enjoy going out and getting to talk about it a little bit because it's a very important part of the community and the tapestry and the landscape of our community. So I appreciate that our residents are really enjoying the things that we're putting out there in the community. So I was here in 2023 and talked a little bit about the public art programs in general. Tonight, I'm going to give you an overview of kind of what's been going on over the last couple of years, which actually has been quite a bit. Mike, do you have the presentation up? Uh-oh. Don't tell me we don't have a presentation. Hold, please. We're having technical difficulties. Commercial break. But I was going to talk about this a little bit later in the presentation, but as long as we have this little break, I can go ahead and chat a little bit about it. And that is our newest public art project that actually we've been calling it a number of things. It was at one point in time called the Icon Project. Then it became the Sunnyvale Suns. And now we're calling it Sunflare. But it basically, what we've done is we heard the community tell us that they wanted some smaller scale sculptures that were very whimsical and kind of discoverable throughout the community. So we put together a project that was, we were thinking in terms of, the Chicago Cows or San Francisco Hearts, the San Jose Sharks from years gone by, Los Altos Bears and Cupertino did rabbits. So we put out a survey a few years back that kind of asked everybody, what do you think is the one thing that describes Sunnyvale? And we had all kinds of answers. We liked a lot of them. There were a couple we weren't so sure about, but honestly, agriculture, of course, is always very. When you think about Sunnyvale, it's high tech or agriculture usually are the first couple of things that come out. So we ended up with the sun. That was the one thing that everybody wanted. So we fabricated 26 identical fiberglass sun sculptures, and they stand about 6 feet tall and they're 4 feet in diameter. We then did a juried process to find 26 artists. They're all local. 9 of them are from here in Sunnyvale. They're all emerging artists. They took the Sunnyvales home with them, transformed them based on what Sunnyvale meant to them and the history of Sunnyvale and what was inspiring to them about this sun sculpture. And they brought them back, and I'm happy to announce that on Saturday from 10 to 11:30, we're going to have an unveiling at the old Sunnyvale Community Services location, 725 Kiefer, in the warehouse there. All 26 suns are there, and I can tell you they are spectacular. I am so proud of the artists and the job that they did on these. So if you can make it, come on down. It's open to the public. We will have some light refreshments and some activities, but just to see the suns is well worth it. So since I was here last, next slide. Sorry, I'm going to have to. Well, let me start by saying that what I'm going to talk about a little bit tonight is really the art and private development updates, the art and public places updates, as well as some of the other projects, which I just talked about, our newest one, the Suns, and then also kind of what we're looking forward to after that. Next slide. So as many of you probably know, we have 2 major programs here in the city, and the first one is the art and private development. Art and private development is where the developers are required to put 2% of their construction valuation towards art on site, or they can choose to do an in lieu fee, which is 1.1%. Through that program, we have almost 100 pieces of artwork. Actually, we have over 100 pieces of artwork now here within the city. A lot of them are over in North Sunnyvale because that's where all the industrial building and office buildings are. But as you know, Sunnyvale headquarters a lot of major corporations. So there's been a lot of activity in that program for a while. So next. And then we have our downtown city line, which has been a very large project for the city. And the entire time I've been here, we've been talking about redoing the downtown and starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And we're very happy to say that, what they're doing downtown is pretty spectacular. And again, they were required to do public art for downtown. It's being done in phases, but all in all, there's going to be 6 pieces of artwork that City Line is going to be putting in. So cumulatively, that 1% is equal to $1.3 million, almost $1.4 million. And at this point in time, we have 3 that are permanently installed downtown. So we have one on McKinley, which is the big fiberglass shade structure. that's in the top right-hand corner of the slide. We have the Otello piece, which is the large sculpture, faucet sculpture, which is, you'll hear me make some kind of funny comments here and there just because every piece of artwork in this city has a nickname based on what the residents have given it. So this is the faucet piece, even though it's called fountains. But anyway, so they were installed back in 2022. We also have the Olaf Bruning's piece. So if you go to the next slide, I think, oh, well, this is the newest one, but we also have one that's in a temporary location. We have one that's just been installed, which is this one by Camille and Rowe. It's called Dropping the Ball, and it's on the corner of Washington and Murphy Avenue. But it is in its permanent spot right now. They're still working a little bit on some of the landscaping and stuff, but it's there. And again, just recently installed. Next slide. This is the Olaf Bruning piece I was talking about. It's titled Heads, and it's on Washington at Murphy Avenue. And it was approved back in November of 2022, but just installed last summer. Now it's in a temporary location. Its permanent location will be in Redwood Square, but that's still, it's just finishing up construction. But in order to move this piece, they will have to go back and ask for permission and from the city council for the new location. But these are a series of stainless steel and chrome bronze sculptures that are about 6 feet tall. They're oversized cutout cartoonish faces in profile with thought speech bubbles that include text, like much too much, just too much, I can't take it anymore. Or there's recognizable symbols like thumbs up, thumbs down, a heart. The artist repurposes and playfully adopts the iconography and experiences of popular culture. A commentary on a generation that is intertwined with the internet. His work intelligently explores pertinent aspects of contemporary society, often incorporating language and absurdist humor. So he basically, his statement is, I'm asking the question, how to react to the avalanche of stimuli and information that the technological world floods us with each day. And he's hoping people will sit down, think about that while they sit with the sculptures. Next slide, please. This is the fifth of the 6 sculptures that has been approved. It's by Mark Handforth, and it's a large aluminum star sculpture that's 18 feet tall, and it's constructed out of 10-inch wide aluminum, an L-channel aluminum. And then the L-channel, the aluminum piece, is bent into an abstract fluid star in powder-coated blue, and then lined with red, amber, violet fluorescent lights, causing it to glow at night and create kind of a drawing in space from afar.
Cool.
I can tell you, I just talked to the consultant on this project earlier today, and I think this is going to be installed by the end of March. So kind of exciting. Okay, next. Pardon? Oh, did I get it wrong? Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. So this is another piece that went in just recently since the last time I spoke to this group. And it's a Google piece at their mass timber building, which is on the corner of Barrigas and Gibraltar. It was approved in January of 2022 and installed in February of 2023. It's a large-scale painted metal sculpture inspired by an interest in minimalist art, space and science fiction, video games, and modern-day advancements in technology. The artist is particularly interested in how to combine these elements and says whether that advancement is video games, you can play on your home television or the ability to carry around miniature computers in our pockets. Located on the site where it's at was the previous Atari headquarters. So that connection is pretty prevalent. It is 20 feet tall, and if you haven't been out there, I have, and it feels massive when you're right up against it because it's so tall and commanding. But the sculpture's design is an abstracted, pixelated spaceship that's hovering over green and yellow beams of light. It harkens back to the early video games, while the green stripes of the beam directly reference early interior design concepts of Atari's world headquarters. And there are pictures out there of the headquarters back in the 70s where most of the lobby are these green and yellow stripes in very 70s fashion. Next slide, please. This is a piece that went in September of 2023 downtown, right on Altair Way across from Plaza del Sol. If you look towards the back of the picture, you can see Plaza del Sol where it goes down into the parking lot underneath. But this is a living wall by Horticulture Habitat. Michael Brennan is the artist's name. It's a series of living walls that substitute plants and foliage for paint and canvas. It's called Growth for Tomorrow. It pays homage to the past, in particular the city's agricultural history, while simultaneously representing the city's future growth. The column walls that face towards the west, towards Aries Way, are planted with a color palette that kind of represents the orchard. So it's more purples that represent plums, peaches, and ginger ale foliage that kind of represent the apricots, the orange of the apricots. And then in contrast, the other side of the columns are the walls that face east towards South Tafe Street, where and they're planted with green native California ferns with highlights of chartreuse Japanese forest grass. And those hues are meant to represent the future growth of the city. So the artist says, as a reminder that whether it is from an economic or a well-being perspective, civilization must continue to embrace plant life to continue to prosper, especially in the built environment. I will say that we did make sure that there was some type of a maintenance plan associated with this one so that the artwork would survive for here and ever on. Next. This is a piece by Michael Kalish at the new Sunrise Assisted Living facility on Fremont Avenue. It was installed when the facility opened back in August or September. And the artist created a visually stimulating installation that not only beautifies the space, but fits into the surrounding landscape as if it actually grew from the landscape. It's called Sunflower Sky, and it's a composition of dozens of water jet cut aluminum sunflowers. They're stacked and arranged to create an interactive canopy of color. They're situated on oversized stems that again sprout straight from the ground, and they stand 12 feet high. The sculpture provides one perspective as the viewer looks up towards the canopy where blue or gray skies peek through, and another perspective as the viewer looks down on the flowers from the rooms above. And I've actually been up on the third floor, and it really is a different look and a different dynamic. I was a little worried about this one in the beginning because I could only see it over the construction fence in the beginning. So it was just these big yellow flowers over the top of these green construction fences. But when they finally took the fences down and you could actually see the piece in its environment, it was pretty spectacular. It really knocked me over, that's for sure. I went, wow, that's so much better. Yay. Yeah, right. Well, and it's kind of hard when it's out of context like that and it's behind fencing and there's all kinds of construction going on around it and half of it's wrapped up so it can't get damaged. So anyway, It's a really nice piece. If you haven't seen it, go by. There are benches underneath. You can kind of sit and hang out with it. And next. This is a piece by Future Forms, who also did the piece down in City Line that is the canopy with the blue and yellow circles. 1000 Cents is the one on McKinley. And this is a huge piece. The piece is actually installed off of Kiefer Road. However, it's so newly installed that the landscaping isn't done. There's orange cones everywhere, and so we don't have any actual photographs to share with you. But if you really want to see it in person, I highly recommend you do it. Just driving by, it's really beautiful, just beautiful. But it's a monumental abstract sculpture. It stands 16 feet tall by 22 feet wide and 8 feet deep. The stainless steel frame is covered with hundreds of gold titanium nitride coated shingles, and similar to a Mobius loop. The overall form was created by joining two continuously interconnected double curved surfaces around a central opening or portal. The twisted inner golden surface is smoother with a more reflective and a higher resolution shingled appearance, while the outer silver surfaces are faceted and modular. The overall form of the sculpture and twisting center portal is evolving and appears to change depending on the position of the sun and the viewers. Next.
I'm gonna turn the fire on, Jean. Yeah, you can come with me. You can come with me.
Next slide, please. The one I was just talking about was an artist pair called Future Forms. Yeah. Yeah, they've done two other pieces. There's another piece. Both of those are at Intuitive Surgical. So they're very similar in the way they did it. Those two pieces. And the other one is called Cosmos. Is that right? Yeah, they are. Their practice is located in San Francisco. Yeah. And this is a new piece that I know they've contacted me about the building, the installation permit. So I know it's in process. I don't think it's actually on site yet. I haven't seen it. Larry's shaking his head no, because he keeps me informed. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this piece is by Jason Fan is the artist's name, and he does these sculptural pieces that he calls spirit nests. And the nests are inspired by the complex rhythms of nature, interconnected ecosystems, and the movements of rivers and watersheds that shape the land, carving valleys and creating habitats while bringing life and nourishment to nature. They are 8 foot by 8 foot square and stand 15 feet tall. A lot of his actually are made to be climbed. So they're more than one story, but the one for Sunnyvale, the developers were not interested in doing that. But they're built out of sustainably sourced eucalyptus limbs and branches of varying diameters. The branches are woven amongst each other and then bolted together in overlapping layers. Other woods such as acacia and madrone may also be incorporated. Next, please. I think we skipped one in there. Did we? Because this other one's kind of go. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So it is another Google piece. And again, this piece also, I've had several conversations about installation. So I know it's underway, but it's not in place yet. But this is a piece by Catherine Widgery. It's called Murmurs from Infinity. And it's right on the corner of Java and Borregas. Yeah, I think it's Borregas. And right across the street from there's more public art out there, but there's a couple of hotels right across the street. So it's gonna you won't be able to miss it once it's installed. But the artist was really looking at three things when she developed this piece, and that was the natural beauty of the 3 existing Canary Island pine trees that are already on site. Google's intangible cloud of knowledge and information that is never static, but rather dynamically challenging at all times. Oh, changing at all times, sorry. The sum of many parts, none more important than the other, combined for a single purpose and outcome. And the third thing was a way to combine these 2 elements, technology and nature. As the artist was searching for a sculptural form that spoke to these 3 inspirations, she was reminded of a murmuration of starlings, a swirling synchronous movement of many birds forming into a single coherent whole. This revelation resulted in an abstract multi-layered sculpture design that resembles a cloud of movement reminiscent of a murmur, appearing to float in and amongst the pine tree's canopy, although the sculpture won't actually touch or be adhered to the tree's trunk or branches. Okay, now we can go forward. Okay, so a quick art in public places updates. This program is actually what we consider all of the artwork that is funded through municipal funds and placed on municipal property or in municipal buildings, facilities. So there's 2 parts to that. One would be our capital improvement projects. So every time there's some kind of building that goes on in the city, 1% of that budget would go towards public art. So next slide. So I'm going to start with one of our more recent pieces, also our largest public art piece here in the city of Sunnyvale, and this is owned by the city. Everything that I showed you previously for private development, the developers are responsible for maintaining once it's on site. These pieces are part of the city's permanent collection. So the city does have an art collection. We do maintain all of these pieces and keep them for the residents of Sunnyvale. So this is a piece by Linda Brunker, and it's a series of cutout forms that are all holding hands in unity. The best, it's hard to describe it. It's really actually a fantastic piece up front, but it's corten steel with cutouts and silver or gold leafing that has been applied into some of these indentations in the corten steel. And then the cutouts behind them, there's LED lighting, so these things glow at night. There's a great yellow glow, although don't go tonight because we're trying to figure it out. But right now, there's something wrong with the lights. But anyway, the tallest figure on this one is 12 feet tall, and it's about 40 feet long. There were 58 artists that applied and went through the public process for this one. 5 of those were asked to do a conceptual proposal. They were all great proposals, but ultimately Linda's was selected for the commission. It was installed last year after a number of, I guess you could say setbacks. But it's beautiful. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly encourage everyone to go down and take a look. I will tell you that the figures are based on, we did a workshop here. It was a very rainy Saturday that we were all supposed to be at this workshop. There was a core group of about 10 to 15 people that came down for the workshop. We went into the theater at the community center, and we went onto the stage, and everybody held hands and jumped around and moved around, and a professional photographer took a lot of pictures, and then she chose certain figures out of it. So there are actually 2 figures out of all of those that the final sculpture, there are 2 included from the workshop here in Sunnyvale. The other figures are figures that she's encountered along the way in other workshops that spoke to her about diversity and multiculturalism and other ideas. The workshop also included an opportunity for everybody to design their own figure and to decorate that however they felt appropriate, as well as put some sayings on there. And then the sayings have been lasered out, so they're cutouts. So when it lights up, you can see the saying across the back. Our very own Agnes here was one of the people at the workshop, and her saying actually got selected for the piece. So she is immortalized on that piece now. What was it that is?
This was something that my niece, who has since passed, calligraphied for me, and it was dream for out of such fragile things miracles come. And it's interesting because it is on the figure on the far right, which is a little girl. And when my sister-in-law saw it, Teresa's mom, she said that the little girl reminded her of Therese, and she reminds me of Therese as well. And the artist never saw her, so that's that story.
So a little bit of background for you, but next slide, please. This is just a couple of shots of the piece at night. It's quite beautiful, I have to say. Next slide. So the other project we're working on right now, that's a capital improvement project, is the Lakewood Library and Learning Center, which has broken ground and is under construction at the moment. The artwork for it was approved in 2024, and we brought in a panel of community members and project stakeholders, librarians, and we talked a little bit about what we thought the artwork should look like. So eventually we decided on 2 different locations, one out in the front of the building, and that commission was given to Ride Art Studio. It's a $135,000 commission, and they're going to do a sculpture piece for the front titled Roots of Knowledge. The design celebrates the written word through quill sculptures. So it's hard to see from here, but those are quills standing in inkwells and placed among a paving design mimicking pen strokes and containing brass leaves with etched words relevant to learning, community, and life. It also has 3 birds that signify travel, life, and growth. And then on the interior of the library, we have a very large wall where we're going to be doing an interior mural. So that was a $30,000 commission, and the artist selected for that were a Santa Rosa-based artist team called Rough Edge Collective. And they are proposing to do a hand-painted mural titled Lost in Thought. The imagery is a fanciful depiction of a teen intently reading a book that is coming to life with each turn of the page, including a large sea dragon who is listening to every word and asking, then what? Installation is expected or was expected to be late 2025, early 2026. The sculpture, I can tell you, is going forward right now. However, the mural is temporarily on hold due to some legislative issues that we have with the California State Licensing Board that we're trying to work our way through. But basically, muralists are now required to have a contractor's license if they paint on a wall for a public project. So we have to get an exemption on that, but we don't know how long that's going to take. So the library may open without its mural, but it'll be there at some point. Next slide, please. And then the other part of the public art programming is what we do with the in lieu fees that come from the developers. And we put them into the Public Art Fund to develop community projects, community-based projects in the areas of the city where the residents tend to congregate. So the first one that we did after we got our master plan approved was the Great Box Cover-Up, which was utility boxes. And we started with 12 boxes downtown that were completed in the summer of 2022. And they were so well received, and they came out so beautiful that we just went ahead and said, let's do phase 2, which was 16 boxes throughout the rest of the city. We also reserved 11 boxes for the high school, the 4 high schools that service Sunnyvale students. So that phase is currently underway. King's Academy has finished all 3 of their utility boxes. They're painted, they're done. Wilcox is just getting ready to paint, and then we have Fremont and Homestead that we're working with on conceptual designs. Next. Okay, well, you heard me talk about it, but here you go. These are the photos for the Sunnyvale Suns. So as you can see, they all started out as these similar white, boring suns. Huge, but boring. And they all now have been transformed, and they're all very unique. One of them needs power to light up. One has rebar attached to it. So they're all a little bit different. So you really got to come out and see them. And by the way, Saturday is the one and only time we're going to have it available where they're all together. So I highly encourage you to join us. All right, next slide. So we have a couple other projects I'll go through very quickly, but go ahead. Thank you. So one of the things we've been doing since the master plan was approved, we've been working on our online photo gallery and providing updates at publicartarchive.org, which is a website you can go to and type in Sunnyvale, and it'll bring up everything in the collection here in Sunnyvale, whether it's privately owned or whether it's part of the city's art collection. We've also been working on Art in the Park every October for the last 4 years, where we've been doing either painting or yarn or some kind of celebration for Arts and Humanities Month each year. And when I say we, that is our Sunnyvale Arts Commission who is working on that. And then our Hands on the Arts Festival, which is one of the largest children's hands-on festivals in Northern California. We do that every year, and the Arts Commission hosts a booth or a project for the kids. So we prep art projects for close to 300 kids per booth. Next slide. And then recently this year, we also started an exhibits program at the library welcome wall and 2 niches that are in the senior center hallway. It is accommodating 27 local artists and their artwork. So stop by and see it. It's a great opportunity to introduce people to local artists and to give the artists an opportunity to exhibit. And then if you go on the website, you can find our walking tours. So there's 4 self-guided walking tours right now, and we've got 2 more in development they're generally a 2-mile walk. And you can walk around the city and get some information about the public art. You could also bike it, do it in half the time. But, okay, and I think that's it. So next slide. Oh, what's ahead? Real quick, yeah. So we do still have other art and private development projects that are in various stages of the process. Some of them are just seeking their entitlements. Some are starting their design and artist selection. Others are in commission approval. Some are waiting on installation, and then some are just completing their conditions of approval. But we do have at least 10 confirmed right now that are coming towards the Arts Commission for approvals. And next. And then for our Art in Public Places program, we're working on developing a rotating sculpture program out in front of the new city hall, where we would on loan provide a space for a sculpture to be out there for the community to find, and we would rotate it every year. And we put set funding aside to do that for 10 years. And then the community center, as I mentioned earlier, is under construction right now, and it will include a public art component. Plaza del Sol will be undergoing some improvements, and we are currently writing up the scope of what that public artwork will look like. Lakewood Park, the same thing. in addition to the new library, the park will be undergoing renovations. And then Corn Palace Park, we actually just closed the artist applications for that public art piece, and that will consist of 3 artist designed benches as well as a seating wall. And I think that's it. Questions? Oh, very good question. Oh, sorry. Where are all the Suns going? The Suns are going into a variety of parks, 13 different parks. Not every park. Some parks will have a single Sun. Some will have 2, some will have 3. One park will have 4. And we selected the parks. We had a method to our madness. We wanted to kind of spread the love around a little bit. So the parks that already had a lot of public art, we just took out of the mix to begin with. If we knew they were going under construction in the next 2 years, couldn't include them. If we knew they were going into construction the year after that and we're going to get public art, they were on the maybe list. So we really looked at how to disperse the parks so that we had one in every district, as well as, you know, making sure that the parts of the city that don't have a lot of public art at this point in time got some. So I don't have a list, unfortunately, on me. But if you come on Saturday, you'll get one. On Saturday, the opening is 10 to 11:30. Yeah, and it's at 725 Kiefer Road in Sunnyvale at the old Sunnyvale Community Services Warehouse. And these Suns will actually be on display up to 2 years, is what we're saying at this point. We don't know how well they're going to last in the elements, but our hope is that they will survive really well, and we'll be able to leave them in place a little bit longer. But we can't foresee that right now. So we're saying up to 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, Margaret's asking me to speak on the 2 artworks that are downtown in City Line, the one that is a fountain, and then the sticks. See, everything has a nickname, I'm telling you. The wishbones. There you go. So I can tell you that those were not artist design that I know of. They were not part of their official public art program. So I have very little knowledge of them. They could be architectural enhancements. They could also be artist design, but they're not at this point telling me that they are or taking credit on that. So I'd have to look into that a little bit more. But any way you look at it, they're super popular. Yeah, because I get asked that question at least 5 times a week. There might be a sign, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look at the water as it's falling down, I think I've seen Cirrus Regis on it. Isn't the developer. So it comes, I don't know how it does. It's kind of like what you see in Vegas, I guess. Like it somehow it comes through the water. I have no idea how they do it. But that's I think what it says. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's yeah. 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 So you probably didn't hear what our mayor said, but the sign is not always the name of the developer. It's been changed over time to just be geometric designs instead.
Oh, yes.
So my understanding is there's sort of a lifespan on the Suns.
So Council Member Mellinger was asking about the lifespan of the Suns and what the game plan is once those the Suns are retired. And those are, so the lifespan that we're expecting will be 2 years. That's what we're hoping for. If we get more out of it, that's fantastic. Less, if something happens to it, we would have to pull it out of the park, but leave the rest in place. And the artists are all very well aware of that. That was part of our original RFQ. Because we haven't done a round of these fiberglass statues before, we really don't know what to expect. We don't know how well they're going to hold up. It depends on what the artist used and how well they got it coated as to how long it will last. In terms of what will happen to them afterwards, we really have no idea yet, to be perfectly honest. We have several suggestions. We have a lot of stuff on the table. A lot of it's going to depend on whether or not they survive the elements after 2 years, and whether there's anything left to do anything with. So we've had suggestions such as other cities have done where they auction them off, and that money could very well go back into the program for another round of Suns. We've talked about the possibility of stripping them down and doing a second round, handing them out again to another set of artists. We've talked about giving them back to the artists and allowing the artists to do what they want. The one thing we're not going to do is put them in the landfill. We're not interested in doing that. So although we have not 100% figured out what we're going to do with them yet, I can promise that much. They won't go in the landfill. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, so the question was about the stick figures at Fair Oaks. There are 5 of them. There are 3 in front of the park, and then there are 2 right down next to the dog park area in front of the skateboard area. So they're split up. No, but you nearly killed me just now. I thought, where are they? Oh no. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah. So the question is, does anybody ever donate artwork to the city, in particular, like a mural or a Picasso? Oh, I wish, but no. Yes, people approach me all the time. The city does have a formal donation policy. There are a number of steps that have to be taken before we can accept the donation, including city council's approval. We also have to have a place to put it, and we have to have some way of maintaining it if we take it on. So there is a whole process, and the process itself takes about 6 to 9 months. So a lot of people don't want to go through that. That's provided that we're going to take the donation on, put it on public display for a long period of time, and consider it as part of our collection. So the answer is the straight answer is it depends, but there is a formal policy in place that I have to follow if we take a donation. Yeah, but no, so far no Picassos or Moreras. Yeah. Yep. I'm waiting for that, Margaret. Well, there you go. See, I think Councilmember Mellinger is volunteering. No, no. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I take it back. He's not volunteering to bring us a Picasso. All right. I can give you a business card. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to me go on and on. I am passionate about this program. Um, it, it was a program when I took it over that was very sleepy and had very little going on, but it has grown to one of the largest programs in Northern California. So I think that's something that this community should be pretty proud of. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you. That was very good, and one of the biggest in Northern California. Thank you, Sunnyvale. Proud to be here. Um, the only other thing that we're gonna do tonight is, and Chuck is gonna help me, but we wanted to do kind of an informal survey. What are you looking for from Livable Sunnyvale? Is there some type of interest, something that you think we or the city should be more in tune to, something that interests you that maybe we haven't covered, or maybe it's being covered in other places that needs more coverage? Um, we have a whiteboard that we're going to try to put up here. If you can, for Zoom people at home or in the room, you can add things. Um, we did a survey a little while ago, and some of it, this is where some of the stuff came from, but we're looking to see what has changed. What are you looking for? And maybe I'll just pass the mic around the room. I don't know. Put people on the spot. Margaret, I know you have ideas. Margaret is saying she does not have any. So Margaret is saying housing, and then you get a little stuck.
You better have some idea. Oh, I didn't know this was happening.
Pass to someone else. I'm sure that our electives have some ideas.
So, from an organizational standpoint, one of the things, one of the things that we're doing, of course, is um, we're about to enter 3 workshops. So, from a study issue standpoint, um, I do think it's valuable to get feedback from the community on what study issues a wider audience, because council hears from a very selected group at the end of the day. But it would be useful to hear from, let's say, a polling standpoint, from a livable standpoint, on what issues or what study issues that you would actually prefer. So I think we're about to enter 3 big all-day workshops. So the study issue workshop in February is the first one, a week from tomorrow. And then we'll have our strategic session, which is kind of a grab bag, getting the update from the city on where things stand, as well as looking at generally, what strategically council wants to move forward with over the next year, 2 years. This will be slightly different as opposed to kind of a yearly strategic priorities, 4 to 6. We'll be actually looking to try to itemize what we want to accomplish from a city standpoint in the next year or 2. So this is one of the things that we're trying to change that this year. But that's kind of taking all the input on what we're accomplishing right now, what our plans are already for the next year or 2, and then how that ties to a strategic standpoint. And then, of course, our budget workshop come May, but that's a little bit off. Right now it's trying to get more information, kind of more feedback from that standpoint. Beyond that, highlighting housing response. I do think it'd be worthwhile for this organization to lobby our legislators on what you would like to see. So, Assemblymember Aaron's had his pancake and policy breakfast last Saturday, but it's what bills you would like to see, what issues you see within Sunnyvale, whether or not that's mixed use retail, or whether or not that's, multiple things that I could list off. I don't want to push you in any one direction, but it's that sort of thing. And I think getting a collective voice for either priorities for what we'd like to move forward with in the next year, whether or not it's strategic or study issues, and then having an advocacy level for our state legislators, I think is worthwhile. And I'll pass on the mic at this point.
Hello there. So I think most of the folks here know I'm a past president of Livable Sunnyvale, so I'm going to be circumspect. I don't want to, as an elected, I don't want to be telling you what to do. But there are a few things that I think are worth calling out. So first of all, everything the mayor said, Livable Sunnyvale's advocacy before council is extremely important. And the effective advocacy of this organization before council over a period of many years is why it has power. So keeping that up and keeping that going is really important. Second, some things that I think are worth calling out on here. One is traffic safety and safe streets. One is homelessness, which I know this organization has done a lot on. One is city process reform, the study issue on study issues. That's something that I hope this organization will be very involved in. And then finally, from an organizational standpoint, I think that Livable Sunnyvale needs to do a real recruiting drive over the coming year. I think that's keeping fresh blood coming into any organization is an extremely important part of its health and well-being. The issues that this city is facing, there's 156,000 people in this city. There's a lot of people after the last election who care a lot and have a lot of feelings and don't really have anywhere to put that effort in. And there are a lot of people who are looking to do something right now. And I think leveraging that, channeling that is a really good idea. I am going to get up and hand this over to Paulina.
Hi, everyone. So I think we need to change, I would say renter rights. I think that is something that we need to focus on a lot. I hear many of our clients, I don't want to use the word complaining, but sometimes they don't know how to act when they have a difficult situation with the landlord. So it would be great if we can educate our community about the rights that they have as a tenants.
It's hard to focus on it these days, but this organization has environment as one of its pillars, and that's kind of missing from the agendas. And I think there's several things that could be good for us to focus on. One is, in light of what's happened in LA, focus on resilience, which ends up being defined as ability to recover from acute or chronic situations. We've got a plan that went through with virtually no discussion. I think it was in the consent agenda. It might be good for an organization like this to make that visible and get people thinking about it. The other thing is, more broadly, how to get more focus on climate adaptation. There's a little bit about that in the climate action plan, but say compared with what the county is focused on, there's relatively little emphasis there. And that is layered with equity issues. So I think it might be of interest to members here. And then the final one that I would add is around transportation issues. We focus a lot, probably not enough on active transportation issues, but we have almost no place in the city to talk about city strategies or lack thereof around any kind of commute issues. And that already is an issue for large employers here. And other employers are starting to talk about that. And it's certainly been a challenge for residents. There doesn't seem to be any place where that doesn't seem to be in the jurisdiction for any commission or anybody other than planning commission or the council itself. But there's no place to really talk about the broader issues there. So I would love to see Livable remember that environment is part of the charter we've established.
So all great suggestions. We added last year, I think we added a fourth pillar for equity. And I mean, at the time, it almost seemed like kind of an apple pie suggestion. And now it's under a full-throated attack in many quarters and explicitly banned at the federal level now. So I think it's worth um, focusing on that, explaining why it's important, and of course the purpose of it is not putting incompetent people in every position. Yeah, I think we need to kind of reconceptualize and communicate our positions, our values in this area, so that and to give our members ammunition in terms of talking about this.
Yeah, I would second the comments about the sustainability and transportation. Those were a little bit light, and over the past period of time have been a topic we haven't had quite as many meetings and discussions about. So yeah, I think the transportation, yeah, the commute ideas sound like a good idea. And if people have good ideas on just generally sustainability and environmental issues, I think those would be good to bring up too. Oh, yeah, and if you're online, feel free to just stick whatever you want on the whiteboard. Everyone should be able to edit that.
So what all of you have said, um, many of which I've been thinking about as well, in regard to reaching out to more of our neighbors and community members. That's one of the reasons that we applied for a grant through the county and have Wordly, so that we can hold our meetings in multiple languages. So we were really very pleased when that came to fruition. I think in response to Bruce, we've learned from the fires in Altadena that we need to be mindful of the trees, as an example, that we plant in our cities. And there are many trees that are fire resistant, and actually, on a personal note, more than likely kept my daughter's house from burning because it stopped the fire. Yes. So they were very lucky. Another thing that I think I would like to do is I would like to see our city have more native plants in our landscapes, because as the planet warms up and California has less water, then we are going to need native plants to be put in our parks. So those are a few things. And one last thing is I would like to see Livable Sunnyvale out and about in person in the community more as well. I think I would like to see, as we've volunteered at Sunnyvale Community Services, we've had a table at the farmers market, but I would like to see us getting involved more with what's going on in our community. So those are my thoughts.
No, you're passing too? Okay. Anybody online who doesn't want to write it and wants to shout it or to speak it? I'm looking at all our people online. Anybody? Shall I call on people, or do you want to? Going once? Twice? I did put in the chat the link to the budget study proposals. So if you want to look at those. I guess I will say, kind of from the beginning that I took over as chair, part of what I wanted to do is to grow the membership and grow the presence of Livable Sunnyvale so that people automatically go to us when they want to get involved. We're their first stop. Um, and here's my plea. We can't do that without you guys. So part of what you guys, and I'm looking all around the room, is invite someone to come with you next time. Invite someone to come to this meeting next time. Our March meeting, we're in the planning stages. And Paulina, would you like to speak to it, or do you want me to keep going? So part of what is happening is immigrants are not feeling safe here. There's no other way to put it. And there are things we can do as a community to support them because we're all connected. I cannot say that more than that. We're all connected. So when they're having issues, we have issues. And it's part of being a community. So we're looking into how we can educate ourselves and possibly others. Maybe some of the immigrants want to come or feel safe. I'm not sure. But we're still kind of thinking of who we're going to invite. Probably some legal folks that can tell us exactly what to do or not to do. There are organizations around our community that are doing something. So stay tuned. That's our March meeting. And part of what one of our meetings last week in terms of outreach, we were talking to library staff about what they were doing and what they see. And, we've been sometimes going to Sunnyvale Farmers Market, but the library, we're going to start going to the library and tabling. So we hear Monday night is the big night to be there in the library. That is the most popular night of the library. So stay tuned for that. Do I have any other announcements or going once? Twice? I think that's it. So thank you very much for your time and go look and enjoy the art. Thank you. And we're ending.